here's the problem. This is why if you're featured in the Epstein files for so long, it's not that you're trying to get laid. It's because, hold on, let me see this for a second. It's because this guy was fucking with 14-year-olds. Okay, so sorry, and you got
there's some 9-year-olds in there.
Yeah, there's even younger.
Who moved to US? Hold on. Hey, she was 14, guys. Can you get the right?
Oh no, this is just one example.
Dude, there's
just one.
So many.
Yeah.
Brian goes, dude, come on, she was 14. What is your take today? What the fuck is going on?
All right, so it looks like one of Joe Rogan's BFFs, Bryan Callen, who's allegedly a predator himself, is unsurprisingly defending Jeffrey Epstein and excusing the people who hung out with him after his initial arrest in 2008, stating that, in the 90s and the early 2000s, it was completely normal to date a 16-year-old girl as a 40-year-old man, and that you'd commonly see teenage girls as young as 16 years old in bars and clubs in New York, which not only is later proven to be completely untrue, but at the very same time, it exposes him as the slimy predator that he always has been. Like, let's not forget that this is the same guy who allegedly told his 23-year-old girlfriend at the time that girls had the biological, primal desire to be raped. And when he allegedly said this, he was 40-something years old with another wife and family.
Please understand.
That's why they're there.
Yeah, if you think that 15 and 16-year-old models that who were also on the cover of this, that, and the other thing, people like Kate Moss, do you think back in the 90s anybody was checking ID? Do you think back in the 90s anybody was saying, hey, that girl, like, she's 15? I hate to tell everybody. I hate to tell, but the order of the day,
era. That was a
creepy fucking era.
There's a song, she's only 17.
Calvin Klein's models were 15 and 16, dude.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, so.
Yeah, but this is also 2000. This is 2000s though, too, B.
Even then, Bubba, even then before everybody was looking.
Here's what I will say.
I'm not saying.
I don't like this take either, dude.
I'm just telling you how it was. Here's what I'm trying to say.
I think they knew.
Here's what I'm trying. The majority of those girls who were models, who came to New York as young as 13, who were supposed to be looked over, okay? I promise you, probably 50 to 60% of them have a story about how they were 16 dating a 32-year-old, how they were 16 dating a 45-year-old. You know why? Because it was fucking accepted.
So right off the bat here, I think it's safe to say that Bryan would have happily swam to Epstein's island if he had the chance, as he's reaching as far as humanly possible to defend his mega-rich, ultra-elite friends that he surrounds himself with in Austin, Texas here. Like the fact that he's making Brendan Schaub look like the most logical one in the room just shows you how insane Bryan sounds here. And you can tell that he genuinely thinks he's being devil's advocate in this conversation, but the more Bryan insists that it was completely normal to be dating literal 16-year-old sophomores in high school back in the 90s, the more you start to wonder what this guy has actually seen. Like, Callen literally says that it was a social norm to see underage girls get trafficked back in the day, stating that he's even seen it himself.
But here,
buddy.
Hey,
Dude,
can I give you just a little take as a guy in New York? I wasn't in the scene, I wasn't famous, but I saw. Like, you would see, this is how things worked in New York City. Young women were trafficked as an order of the day back in the day. So, like, it's again, don't be surprised that this shit was happening. Don't be surprised. It was socially accepted. That's what nobody's talking about.
What was socially accepted?
What was socially
Girls
accepted?
being in a club?
So if you were 40 back then and you showed up with an 18-year-old and you walked into a room, that was socially acceptable. If I'm going to say this, I think this is the case. If you were like some famous actor and you show up with a top model who happened to have been 16, 17, back in the day, in the 90s, I guarantee nobody said shit. You know what they said? They do it in Europe. I'm just telling you, that's how that shit went down, man. That's how that shit went down.
Right after that, he also says that Jerry Seinfeld's 17-year-old girlfriend back then was, quote, blown out, which makes Brendan Schaub and the guest on the podcast super weirded out, as if they're just now starting to realize that Bryan Callen is exactly what his accusers say he is.
17-year-old Shoshana Lonstein.
There you go. Now, hold on.
Hold on.
When he was
please.
38. So that's
Now,
older
hold
than
it.
me
Now,
with a
everybody-
high school girl.
Now, to my point, thank you very much. Now, Shoshana Lowenstein, have you ever seen what she looked like? She was so blown out, it was crazy. Now,
What do you mean blown out?
she was like, bring her up when she was 17. It was like my friend was there, and he was like, man alive. Now, she was 17.
Brian, I love you. Stop it.
No, I'm saying she was 17. She was 17 and he was 39. And what would happen right now? We'd all be like, are you out of your mind? Guess what? Nobody
Go to
batted
regular
a
pictures of her
eye.
chin?
Nobody batted an eye, everybody.
This might just be the absolute worst hill to die on for a guy who's accused by 4 separate women of sexual misconduct, which, when you revisit that, is still completely horrifying. Like, it's almost like people forget that Bryan allegedly lured a woman to his home after a friendly dinner, pinned her onto his bed, and penetrated her while she repeatedly told him no, allegedly telling her that she's gonna, quote, love this, and that she's his girlfriend now. Then after the whole thing, he allegedly said to her, what am I, a big bad rapist? There's also another allegation of Bryan pushing a store employee against the wall in a fitting room, closing the curtain, and kissing her on her neck without her consent. And of course, Bryan's denied all these allegations, but regardless, you can tell this guy's just an absolute creepy sex pest. I mean, even Whitney Cummings has a story about Bryan Callen exposing his parts to her in his car without her consent, which seems to be true since Callen didn't even deny it when she was telling the story right in front of him.
It was only like 7:30, and you were like, can I get a ride in my car? And I was like, sure. And you got in the car, and I literally like turned the wheel like to like look where I was going, and I turned around and your dick was out.
Hey.
The old peekaboo.
Call me old peekaboo.
So now that you're up to speed with the guy's past and all of the horrifying accusations against him, when you listen to him trying to defend Epstein and all the elites that hung out with him, it really makes you realize where he's coming from.
Real awful.
They're not a good time.
He was probably looked at by most people back then as the guy who had the in with all the hottest girls in New York. That's how he marketed himself, right?
Pre-2008,
And now,
you could
now
say
you
that.
got an island. If you get on the plane to the island, in the real world, girls were getting, back in the day, would get married at 16 to a 40-year-old. And that was all over the place. Now, am I advocating for that? No. Fucking no, I'm not. What I'm trying to say is that shit was done all the time. There are more women than not who were models, who were in New York, who have a story about being 16 and dating a 40-year-old. And that's a fact. And you know why I know that? Saw it. All of us did. Nobody talked about it, but it was like, well, I don't know what's going on there.
Another thing that makes this defense of Bryan strange is that he's one of, if not the closest friend to Joe Rogan, who is also backtracking and defending Epstein and all his buddies that appear to have been close to the monster himself, even after his first conviction in 2008.
That's a very specific illicit desire to want underage people.
Well,
How do you even find out that someone's into that?
So this could very well be Bryan just parroting the same talking points that he and Rogan agreed to sound off about publicly before talking about it on their podcasts. Like Joe Rogan apparently spoke with Donald Trump on February 1st over the phone, with Trump saying that he spoke to Rogan about the ongoing ICE crackdowns and all, but I feel like you could also assume that Trump briefly spoke to Rogan about how he should address the Epstein stuff and all that too.
Joe Rogan was one of your biggest endorsers in 2024. He said he understood the president's sort of plan to deport people here who are here illegally, but he also understands why critics compare ICE officers to the Gestapo asking people for their papers. What's your response to him?
Well, look, first of all, he's a great guy. We had a tremendous success before the election. I think it was his biggest interview ever, and over 300 million people. It was very good. She didn't want to do it, you know. She decided not to do it because she's not capable. But I spoke to him 3 days ago. We had a great conversation. And all I'm doing, I have to keep.
Did he mention this to you? Did you guys talk about this, the ICE
a little
enforcement?
Bit. Yeah. Just had a good conversation. I think he's a great guy, and I think he likes me too.
Yeah.
So the fact that Trump spoke to Rogan on the phone just confirms that Rogan's an official mouthpiece of the administration now. And Rogan most likely spoke to Callen about it all too, as they're best friends forever at the end of the day. But tracing back to Callen's defense of Epstein here, by far the funniest part about Bryan saying that it was normal in New York to date 16-year-olds is that it all gets thrown out the window by his ex-wife, who he claims was the person who knew about all the underage disgustery that went down in New York prior to even meeting Bryan.
Like, I want to call my first wife right now and ask her. I want to ask her one question. I want to say, when you were 16, was it hard to get into a club? She was a big model.
But of course not.
Yeah, but she's got such an inside look on this stuff. Watch this.
And so when he calls her on the phone, she literally says that none of that went down in New York ever. And the only times she saw that happening was in Europe, which completely shoots down everything Bryan was saying before this.
Let's just have a conversation with her about how fucked up that world was.
No, we all know.
Yeah.
We're all in agreement, B.
Hello. Now you were a big model in New York.
Oh my God, shut up.
I know, but you were a big model in New York.
Shut up.
And how old were you when you first went to New York?
24.
Okay, so did you know girls who were as young as 16 who were modeling in New York?
Not New York, but overseas, yes.
Overseas. And those, okay, and so when in New York, we were talking about this Epstein thing, right? This Epstein thing. And so,
Am I getting anyone in trouble? What's happening?
no, we're on a podcast, but I was just trying to say that New York back in the day it was all sex for sale. It was all insanity.
Mostly Europe. Because like when I lived in Milan.
So yeah, just a super weird hill to die on here for Bryan. Not really surprising though, especially since he's in this circle of the ultra-elite billionaire reptiles down there in Austin. I mean, the guy literally flies around in a helicopter around Austin with his mega-rich pal all the time there. He also has a bit in his most recent dumpster fire of a comedy special where he talks about his billionaire friends in Austin.
You really want to be safe? You really want to be safe? You got to make money. Yeah, I'm talking real money. You know what I mean? I'm not talking Austin money. I'm talking Dallas money. Yeah, there's a difference, bro. Oh man, I'm talking billions. My buddy's a billionaire. That's, ready for this? That's 1,000 million.
I mean, Bryan didn't get cornered into defending Epstein at all. He in fact shamelessly defends that creepy circle with his chest out. And the craziest part is that he actually believed people would buy what he was selling here. And the more he talked, the worse it got. And that's what makes it so unbelievably creepy to hear. Like, it's not just that Bryan defended Epstein, but it's that he did it in a way that exposes how he really thinks. Then you layer in the Rogan connection, the phone call he had with Donald Trump, and the Austin billionaire bubble, and it all really starts to look like there's a pattern here. Like these guys all protect each other, and when something ugly surfaces, they double down just like this, even if it makes them sound insane. So at the end of the day, Bryan Callen's a deeply slimy and perverted individual. And honestly, it makes sense why his career's in the gutter now. Like, he's always complaining that he can't sell tickets and that he never made it in Hollywood, saying that he's confused because he's tried super hard for over 30 years now. But then when he says stuff like this, you know exactly why he didn't become a household name on the big screen. I mean, the guy's an alleged rapist and confirmed PDF protector. So now, whenever he complains about failing in life, just remember that this is who he actually is.
I did have a very famous,
That's okay.
I did have a very famous
We love you,
Hollywood
Bryan.
person tell me why he thought I didn't make it, which I won't say. But anyway.
That's mean. Bryan, you made it.
It was interesting.
Bryan, shut up. You made it.
by all senses,
you had a sitcom.
I guess it depends what you mean made.
Sitcoms, three sitcoms.
Yeah, you were in movies.
And TV and movies.
Bryan, you
That'd be
you
making
crushed it.
Yeah.
Bryan, here's your
But
problem.
you're not Kevin Hart.
Behaves in interaction.
I always look at it this way. Like we were doing this thing and Ryan Reynolds, people were talking about how he gets hate or he gets criticized. And I was like, look, man, I don't know about that. I just know that I tried really, really hard to be Ryan Reynolds. I did. I tried my hardest. I was in acting class. I went on every fucking audition. I did okay. I was on a couple sitcoms and some movies and stuff. But for whatever reason, I'm not Ryan Reynolds. You know why? I'm just probably in some ways, hate to say it, I think I'm really good at comedy, but maybe I'm just not as good, or maybe just for whatever reason I didn't do it. Maybe he was smarter in this other area, but either way, he's
the
there.
reality is, man, there can only be like a couple of Ryan
That's fine,
Reynolds.
but I'm not
and
gonna hate
there's
on the guy because of
probably
it, you know?
Thousands and thousands and thousands of people that are trying to.
I did. I tried hard, man.
But yeah, just thought that was interesting as Bryan's Joe Rogan's right-hand man and all. But anyways, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And of course, thanks so much for watching.
Shoshana Lowenstein, have you ever seen what she looked like? She was so blown out, it was crazy. Now,
What do you mean blown out?
she was like,
What do you mean blown out?